I bought a 60GB backwards compatible PS3 from DKOldies for $350, and in this video, we're going to take an in-depth look at it and see if it was actually refurbished this time. So here's the box it came in. As you can see, it's clearly from DKOldies.com. Let's go ahead and open it up and see what's inside. Got the classic packing peanuts, which I'm not a huge fan of. So here's the packing slip. We got a few things here. First of all, I bought Strike Force Bowling for the PS2. Since this is a backwards compatible, it should be able to play PS2 games. I bought a PS3 FAT 60GB system player pack, reverse compatible. I still don't know why they call it reverse compatible instead of backwards compatible, but whatever, same thing. Also, one thing to note is they call it good condition, which is a little bit surprising because there's not very many good condition PS3s out there because of how easily they get scratches. I ordered this back in January when I ordered this. So it's been quite a while since I ordered this console. All right, so real quick, I want to show you their website because it looks like they've made a few changes since I last purchased this system. So first of all, you can see we're on the 60GB reverse compatible page for $350, which I think is about the same price that I paid for it originally. The first thing I noticed is it says good system versus acceptable. So it looks like they've changed their terminology from cosmetically flawed to acceptable, which is interesting. I'm not sure why they did that. The other thing I noticed is they have a little question mark next to refurbished and quality, so you can see like a description of their products, which I don't remember seeing this in the past, but like if you go through here, you can see their entire process apparently of what they do for each console. Now, the main things to note here are the fact that they say they do blow out every single console. They also say if they can't blow it out, they'll clean it by hand. They even come down here and say replace thermal paste if needed. So obviously this is a new page that I don't remember seeing in the past, but just interesting to see. Now let's go ahead and take the console out of the box and see what's inside of here. And what do you know? We got a DualShock 3. No surprise there, man. I'm not too surprised because this is back in January when they were, I guess they didn't know that you couldn't play PS2 games on a PS3 with a DualShock 3, but like still, they shouldn't be sending those out, obviously. We got our power cord, of course. Our game down here, we got Strike Force Bowling for the PS2, and game looks pretty good. Let's see if we can sift through these packing peanuts and pull the console out. Man, this is why I don't like packing peanuts. They go everywhere. There's our HDMI cable, by the way. Now I gotta clean all these up. All right, I guess we'll just have to live with the packing peanuts for now. Let's go ahead and take this console out. Oh my goodness. Good condition is a questionable assessment of that console. First of all, there's some bubble wrap marks, which is, that's fine. That happens with bubble wrap sometimes. But there's some like giant swirl marks on this, clearly from some abrasive. They clearly used magic eraser on this. Let me just say that, put it that way. Let's zoom in and take a closer look at it. So this PS3 is like straight up GameStop style. Like if you're familiar, GameStop takes magic eraser to all their consoles and basically destroys the glossy finish of it. In case you don't know, magic eraser is abrasive, so when you wipe down a console, it leaves tons of little micro scratches, which you can see all over the console here. Going to the front, kind of the same thing. On this flap right here, and even on this little part right here. And flipping over to the bottom, doesn't look like they used magic eraser, but it looks extremely beat up. Now flipping over to the back, I think this is actually probably the best side because it appears they did not use magic eraser here. Now going to this side, we've got our classic DKOldies warranty sticker there. And again, just scratches all over it. So I just want to reiterate here how bad it is to call this a good condition console. I mean, using a magic eraser on a glossy console is just a terrible idea because of all the scratches it leaves behind. And honestly, I'm a bit surprised here because although DKOldies clearly doesn't clean out the inside of consoles, the outside of most consoles I've received from them have been in solid condition. But anyways, the takeaway here is that you really should not be using magic eraser on your consoles. So one thing I want to do real quick is take the hard drive out and just make sure it's 60 gigs. All right, so it is 60 gigs, and it's not quite as filthy as if you guys remember the Desert PS3, when I pulled out the hard drive, that was my first like evidence at a dirty PS3. That hard drive is a little bit dirty, but not nearly as bad as the Desert PS3. But of course, we'll open up this console later and see what it looks like on the inside. Let's go ahead and plug it in now and see if it works. All right, guys, so I have the console plugged in. A couple more things to discuss real quick, though, before we turn it on. First of all, I just noticed they forgot my USB cord, so I had to get my own. It's a minor thing, but like, man, it's always something. And I tore through the packaging, couldn't find it, so it's not there. They didn't send it. I also opened up this DualShock 3. I kind of debated just leaving it in the packaging because it's not a good controller, but I wanted to kind of discuss how these old school controllers are not good. They're like clearly made to be as cheap as possible, like price-wise and quality-wise, which is like, I guess it fits a portion of the market, but I would not recommend them if you want a great experience. And it's funny because after my last DKOldies video on the PS4 a couple months ago, a rep from Old School actually emailed me the next day and kind of was not happy that I kind of ripped into the old school controllers. That's a whole nother story though, but let's go ahead and turn this console on and see if it works. So flip the switch on the back first, got a red light, hit the power button, should turn on. Any free games? Nope. So I got this console set up and onto the home screen, and clearly they factory reset this console here, which is good to see because the last one they sent me was a PS4 that was not factory reset, still had somebody's gamer tag on there. And in case you guys didn't know, your gamer tag and associated personal information can actually be leaked on the dark web. Happened to me back in 2021 with my Xbox gamer tag, and I did not even know about it until I started using Aura, which is the sponsor for today's video. So what exactly is Aura? Well, Aura is an easy to use app that includes everything you need to stay safe online. And of course, one of the coolest features is that you can take your gamer tag and put it into their system, and they'll notify you if they find it on the dark web, because if it's on the dark web, that's not a good thing. And one of my favorite features about Aura is they help you fight back against those annoying websites that make your personal information public by automatically requesting a removal of your information from those services. And as you can see here, Aura's already sent over 20 opt-out requests for me personally to all these data brokers, which helps reduce robocalls. But guys, Aura does so much more than that. They give you near real-time alerts on suspicious credit inquiries. They have a VPN that allows you to stay anonymous on the internet. They protect your devices from viruses. They help you manage what your kids can do on their devices, and they even have a password manager. Now, I'm sure you guys might have an app that does, maybe one or two of these things, but with Aura, you can do all of these things in just one app. So guys, let Aura do the hard work for you. If you sign up using my link on the screen right now, you get a 2-week free trial, and trust me, you'll be surprised at how much personal information Aura finds in those 2 weeks. So go to aura.com/jrob or scan the QR code on the screen right now to start your 2-week free trial today. So first thing I want to do is check out what console version we're on. So let's check that out real quick. All right, we're on 4.5. That's a little bit old, not too old, but a little bit old. Now let's go ahead and start out with a PS1 game with my nice broken disc. This is just a random game I have, Dukes of Hazzard. I don't even know why I have this. All right, so it does accept discs. Test number 1. That's good to see. There it is, PlayStation format disc. Got to create our internal memory card. All right, so we're on the PS1 game now, and one thing to mention is that the third-party controllers do work on PS1 games and not PS2 games, which I'll show you in a minute. And something else to mention is the fact that this console was on fan level number 3 on the home screen. It's still on fan level number 3 on the PS1 game, but that's it was ramping up pretty hard just for being on the home screen for like 15 minutes. Now, one more thing to mention along with the fan speed is the fact that this is a CECH A01, which has the actual PS2 hardware inside. Like, it has the legitimate chip that runs the PS2 games instead of just emulation, which makes this console the hottest PS3 of all of them. So it makes sense why the fans would ramp up, but again, it's not good for it to be on fan level 3 on just the home screen. So I played the PS1 game for like 5 minutes and it worked no problem. So we're trying to boot up a PS2 game now, and of course this is where we have issues because the PS2 game seems to work fine, like it's loading up, but we can't use the DualShock 3 because it's a third-party controller, and if in case you didn't know, you can't use third-party controllers on a backwards compatible PS3 to play PS2 games. So that's an issue that they're sending these out. Let me find my own DualShock 3 and plug it in and use that. So guys, this game is kind of funny. I've never actually played it, but it reminds me of a time back in the early 2000s when there were so many different types of games. Like between the Dreamcast, the Xbox, PS2, GameCube, and just like all of the developers and publishers that were putting out games, you got there were probably multiple bowling games. And like there's no bowling games on the PS5 nowadays. Like, it's just a random game. But I kind of miss those days, and it's kind of sad to see, but this game's working fine. Let's go back to the main menu and try out a PS3 game. So just a clarification on the rant I just did here. There are actually more games being made nowadays versus the PS2 days because of all the indie games that are released, but I said what I said for 2 reasons. Now, first of all, nostalgia. And, those nostalgia glasses always make it seem like the old games and consoles were better than the new games and consoles, whether they actually were or not. Now, second, I'm mainly referring to sports games here because that's what I played the most as a kid. For example, back in the early 2000s, if you wanted to play a football game, you got to choose from Madden, NCAA football, NFL Street, NFL 2K, and so on. But nowadays, you get Madden, and that's it. So I'm playing Modern Warfare 2 now, and I'm just now noticing that the heat coming out the back is like there's not much heat, which means that the thermal paste is not doing much. Of course, I'm not surprised they didn't replace it, but we'll take a look at it soon. But I'm gonna play this for a little while. All right, so you can see here that clearly the PS3 game is working. I've been playing for like 30 minutes and it's, no problem. Now, before I open this console up, I have something cool I want to show you. I recently bought this thermal camera, and here I'm comparing the thermals of the A01 PS3 from DKOldies to another E01 PS3 that I have that was cleaned out and had thermal paste replaced. Now, clearly this is a flawed experiment because I'm using 2 different model PS3s and different PS3 games, but I still think it's interesting to look at. I mean, this is the A01 PS3, and you can see the heat coming out the back is close to 120 degrees Fahrenheit, and on top where the power supply is, you can clearly see the outline there. It's about 91 degrees. Now, moving on to the E01, the heat out the back is 110 degrees, and the power supply is about 81. So overall, everything here is about 10 degrees cooler than the A01 PS3 from DKOldies. Now, for reasons I'm not going to get into in this video, you shouldn't take these thermal temperatures temperatures as exact, but it's a good comparison tool. I really can't give you any clear conclusions here since this is a flawed experiment, but let me know down below in the comments what your thoughts are. So let's go ahead and open this console up and, see if it's been cleaned out, see if thermal paste has been replaced, that sort of thing. My guess is probably not, but maybe they'll surprise us. And let's go ahead and just start here by taking off that classic warranty sticker. Pop. All right, top cover is off and it's a little bit dusty, but not too bad. Now, let's go ahead and take all these screws out and get down to the insides. So a couple thoughts right off the bat. First of all, we only have 6 screws. There should be 7. There was missing a screw there, which is not a big deal, but it tells us that somebody has been in here at some point, whether it was DKOldies or somebody before. I don't know. And also, these screws were tightened down like pretty tight. And I mean, the screws weren't terribly tight, but they were definitely tighter than factory. So taking this top cover off, obviously it has not been cleaned out by DKOldies because there's just, piles of dust in here. Of course, it's not nearly as bad as the Desert PS3, but I can make a smiley face and will make a smiley face, as you can see there. And then coming down here, it's not terrible, but you can definitely tell it hasn't been cleaned out recently. And I know some people are going to comment down below and say, well, you waited 5 months and left it in a box to open it up, so of course there's going to be dust. And that's just not how dust works. This was wrapped up in bubble wrap, sealed in a package. You would not have dust on the inside of this cover right here if it was from the package, and the outside was not dusty. So I rest my case. Now, something else here that's interesting to know is this power supply is like one of the OG power supplies. So you found it in the A01, the B01, and the E01, which are all backwards compatible. So it makes sense that we see this here. Now the problem with it is it's the least efficient, has the highest power draw, and therefore runs the hottest. So it makes this console more prone to failure because you got to push out more heat and that sort of thing. So a lot of times people like to swap this power supply out with a slightly newer version. Now, it doesn't really matter here because I didn't expect them to swap it out, but just something interesting to note. Another thing to note here that I find kind of funny is somebody actually wrote in here the S for small screw right there, another S for another small screw there. I'm just gonna, another confirmation this console was open in the past. All right, so time for this reveal. Oh yeah, still pretty dang dusty down there. It's turning into a Desert PS3. Still not quite that level, but it's getting there. So this console is dirty, but I'm gonna play a clip right here of the Desert PS3 from a few months ago, so you can remember just how filthy the Desert PS3 was. All right, here we go, and the big reveal. Oh man, that is amazing. Man, DKOldies really outdid themselves this time. This is wow. Yeah, this bottom piece is even wow. It looks like a desert. This was $400, guys. We got a pretty dusty fan and stuff, so. Let me put that to, oh wait, hold on. Get those clumps of dirt and dust on the front there. Now let's take this all the way apart and take a look at the thermal paste. And of course, I ran into a strip screw as well. Able to get it out with needle nose pliers, but it's always something. So this is interesting. I see some liquid on the board right here. Almost looks like somebody spilled like Coke in here, but that's weird because I don't think it would be isolated to that one spot. Maybe it's some kind of flux, like somebody was doing a repair. I do see a few components there where it looks like somebody might have worked on them, so maybe that's flux. I don't know. Let's just keep going. All right, got the board popped off. Let's go ahead and look at this thermal paste. Very excited to see how it looks. 3, 2, 1. And ew. Now, is that OEM thermal paste? I think it is. It looks white. It looks like it has the same kind of signature that it usually has, but there is a chance that somebody came in here at some point and replaced it because we saw somebody came in here and did something. Now, the other thing I noticed here is this chip down here has a lot of heat. You probably can't see it, but I'll take a picture. But it's got a lot of it's got a huge heat rink there. Let me just take this off and look at it. All right, so this chip right here is the Emotion Engine, and this is what runs the PS2 games on this A01 PS3. Now, as you can see, it has this heat rink here. I'm not sure if that's typical because it's been quite a while since I've opened up an A01 PS3. And of course, the E01 does not have this chip because it's just emulation. Yeah, guys, so clearly this console was not refurbished. I mean, that's what we expected, but it's still interesting to open these up and see what kind of condition they're sent in. Now, honestly, the most surprising thing here is that they pulled a GameStop and did a complete magic erasing job of the outside of the console. Like, I'm kind of surprised they called that good condition because that thing is scratched like crazy. Does not look good. And yeah, let me know down below what you guys think about this console. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.